And it's a big day for pot users south of the border, with recreational marijuana now on sale at stores in Washington. For now, it's unclear just how many Canadians will make their way down to take advantage. Either way, it begs the question, will it ever happen here? Political activist and cannabis culture boss Jodie Emery joins us now from our downtown Vancouver studio. Jodie, thank you for being with us here on BC One.
Thanks for having me.
How significant is it now that pot stores are officially open in Washington?
Oh, it's fantastic news. It's really groundbreaking, because having just one state sell marijuana, like Colorado's been doing, that's a little bit of a story. But two states, and in this state having the government itself license and sell the marijuana, that's a huge step forward. And consider it's right next door to British Columbia, and it's the state where Marc was extradited to and sentenced in. And today is the last day of his sentence and the first day of selling legal weed.
Well, we'll get to Marc in a moment. Critics still say this could get in the hands of young people and lead to addiction. What would you say to that?
Well, it is getting into the hands of kids right now, today, under prohibition. The Harper government's conservative marijuana policy is enabling young people to buy it and sell it and deal it, because drug dealers don't ask for ID, and teenagers sell it to each other so they can afford to smoke their own. But once you legalize it, you have restrictions in place. You can have penalties for those who sell it to minors, and you can educate young people about responsible use if they're going to do it, rather than punishing them. When we catch young people drinking alcohol, we don't throw them in prison or charge them. We take away the alcohol and we deal with the people who sold it to them. So when it comes to young people and abuse and misuse, well, young people abuse and misuse a lot of things. A lot of kids are hooked on video games. A lot of kids are hooked on junk food. But a lot of people are hooked on good things, even like exercise. But habitual use doesn't mean it's a problem unless it does become a problem. And if it does, you should be able to seek help and not be put in prison or arrested.
So if it ever does become legal here in Canada and in BC, what programs would you like to see come forward?
Well, in order to get it legal, you have to do it federally. So British Columbia can't change the marijuana laws. We have to get a government in power that will legalize and enable different provinces to deal with the health reasoning and all the policies that they want to do. So if we look at medical marijuana, a lot of young people are using it and it's saving their lives. It's treating autism and seizures throughout many children in the US and Canada. So cannabis can be very useful for people. But if you do have concerns about young people accessing cannabis, the right thing to do is to have it sold in stores and controlled and regulated. And again, we're wasting so much money on all of this arrests and enforcement and policing, and it really should be spent on education in schools and health care. So if we want to deal with problematic use, you can deal with it like you deal with tobacco or alcohol or anything else out there. Pharmaceutical pills, people abuse those every day, but we just treat them with compassion and we give them the smartest information we can about using it responsibly. Again, criminal penalties are wrong and they destroy lives. If we want to protect our young people, we have to legalize it. Right now, they're getting pot under prohibition.
All right, Jodie, now to your husband, Marc. As you mentioned, he's nearing the end of his prison sentence, but that doesn't mean he'll necessarily be back in Canada, does it?
That's right. We don't know when he's going to be home. So even though his sentence ends on the 9th, all foreigners get picked up from their prisons on Thursdays. So lucky for us, that's just the next morning. But he'll be taken to a privately run facility, a deportation facility in Louisiana. He's written about this in his prison blog at cannabisculture.com. But we don't know how long he'll be there. It could be 2 weeks. It could be as long as 8 months, we've heard of Canadians being made to wait. But hopefully with his expedited removal order and with his high profile, he'll be processed pretty quickly and sent home. Now, they'd send all Canadians to Detroit, where they're escorted to the border and get released in Windsor. So I can tell you there's a lot of people out in Windsor super excited they get to see Marc Emery first.
Finally, Jodie, what's next for you and Marc here in BC?
Oh, we have so much in store. We want to tour across Canada, of course, and meet everybody. We want to take care of our cannabis culture store downtown and build up Pot TV and cannabis culture. We're being offered speaking tours, perhaps through universities, and we're being offered sponsored flights and trips to countries overseas to speak to government and different people, students, about drug policy. But there's also been a bit of news about maybe some federal election work ahead, and I can confirm that, yes, I've sent in a request for the nomination package to be a candidate for office for the Liberal Party in Vancouver East, because I was asked to do so by members of the riding who have worked on legalization work with the party for a number of years, and I've worked with them at different events. But I only joined the party a month ago because I really believe this Trudeau government we could have would offer an open, honest government that at least listens and talks instead of hiding away and being closed off like the Conservatives. So that's something I'm really I think is worth supporting. And whether I run or not, I'm still encouraging people to vote Liberal, and so is Marc, to save people's lives and prevent the suffering that I've been through. Nobody peaceful should go to prison for pot, and I've been through it, and I've seen the suffering, and the cost is unaffordable. And I can't take any more years of that. We need to replace this government with a more compassionate, reasonable one.
All right, thanks so much for coming on with us, Jodie.
Thanks for having me.